growth principles and compare them to nature and biblical principles, this principle of multiplication is huge, I think, for the church. It's so ingrained into the heart of the Great Commission to go and make disciples. And I think if a church is going to be healthy, it's got to be a church that's multiplying in every area possible. So whenever you think about multiplication, what comes to your mind in relationship to your ministry, the ministry of the church?
So being out in nature here, right along Lake Michigan, I think of the trees that are all around us and in front of us. And the tree has according to its kind, so the white oak right there, it has by God, a natural growth trajectory. And once it matures, it's not meant to indefinitely grow. It actually can't.
Okay.
It matures.
Right.
And guess what? Then it sends out seeds to start new white oak trees. And so you might have a little bush over there that the maximum size is 8 feet, but God intended for it to be 8 feet and then for it to send out seeds. And that's just like the church. Some churches are a house church and it's an 8-foot thing, and its intention then is to multiply. Same with the white oak tree. It's meant to send out new seeds to start new branches. Now it looks bigger, might be a church of a couple hundred, but then there's this moment where we have to look at the idea of multiplying and how it spreads instead of just bigger's better.
Right.
And this principle tends to go against our cultural norm that says supersize it, bigger's better no matter what. And I would contend that there's something that the church needs to learn about multiplication.
It's fascinating. The work that I do in other countries, in Latin American countries, for example, it's amazing how quickly they're ready to go launch and start another church. They may only have 25 people, but they're starting another church somewhere else in another village or whatever. And I think they're quick to see the principle of multiplication more so than us. We think that we got to get some massive big ministry.
And it's also because they are more communal. See, we are more individualistic, and so in the mega churches you get easily lost, and it's fun. You know, it feels you comfortable. So in a way, the mega church movement was culturally driven, but it was not always healthy. Although it sounded like it was full of energy, but the sustainability and all that, we will talk about it later. I don't know. Maybe this should be an encouragement for everybody that multiplication is a principle that we need to take seriously, not just when we talk about church, size of the church, but don't you apply it in all areas, or how do you do that? I mean, it's not just about rabbits multiplying, and we know the funny video, and they do it so quickly, but how do we do that in all aspects of the church life, all 8 qualities?
I think that you've got to, distinguish the difference between addition and multiplication.
Okay, thank you.
There is a difference.
Yes,
we got to figure that out. We've been talking about this a lot with some discipleship things that we've been doing in our church. How easy it is. Like if I were to lead one person to Jesus every day for a year, I have 365 new converts, which sounds great. We'd celebrate that. But compare that to the difference of me leading one person to Jesus in 6 months. Well, I lead him to Jesus, and then I spend 6 months discipling him and pouring into him. And then at the end of 6 months, the 2 of us go lead somebody to Jesus, and we spend 6 months pouring into them. So at the end of the year, there's 4 of us. So 4 versus 365 doesn't even seem like a good thing. But if you do the math and compare the difference, give it 10 years, and through multiplication, you've reached millions, as opposed to thousands.
So what you are saying is multiplication doesn't bring the quick results as the adding, but it's more lasting and it's more stable, and at the end it's way more. And that's what we saw in Jesus' ministry as well. He spent 12 or 3 even, right?
Not only way more as far as numbers, but think about the stability and the health of that new believer in this area of discipleship. The new believer is grounded in Scripture, and they're growing in their faith. And when the storms come and the difficulties come, they withstand them because they're not a mile wide and an inch deep, but there's some depth to their spirituality.
So some more multiplication principle, how is it applied in other areas, and not just discipleship and growth?
One of the most beautiful things, I think, is in our small group system.
Okay.
So when we start small groups at our church, we are saying as you're starting your small group in your home, we want to encourage you to find a co-leader that can work with you.
Okay.
And the intention then is to multiply.
Right.
And if it's healthy, it multiplies, and it grows.
Right.
And so there's something about that is, I think, so important. It's part of God's heart for the church, as it's not meant to stay cloistered. It's meant to multiply and grow and expand.
You mentioned that you are a yes person. When someone comes and they are excited about starting Vision based on their spiritual gifts, you say yes. How do you then help them to have the multiplication concept in mind right away if they start something new?
Yeah, I'm talking to them up front about what is you have this idea, and people on your team might have more ideas that will help expand that ministry out even more to be able to reach more people. And so just be open.
Yeah.
Open to the movement of the Spirit.
And then it's more natural to be multiplied, so someone else can catch up with that, and they are not alone just doing it and shining, and everybody around is just applauding, but then it will be with them, and when they get tired or they burn out, it dies.
Yes.
Yeah. One thing that we've dealt with a lot, I mean, small groups don't want to multiply. I mean, they love each other.
Like each other.
They don't want to. They say, don't split us up. It's such a big deal. We've recently had a situation where one of our small groups, I mean, honestly, it's like a small church. I mean, if you add all their kids in, I mean, there's like 50 people. I mean, it's crazy. Maybe 30 adults, which is too many. It's not a small group. I say to them, you're not a small group, you're a small church. Well, what they've begun to do is they divide up into smaller groups, and they go do ministry in teams, and they do studies divided up, and then they come back together again. It's a little bit of a different paradigm, different model than we use really in our small group. But I've really seen God work through that as well. And so I've had to, as a leader, I want to work one of these days, and I'd love to see that group start multiple groups. But I've also had to create some space to see God work through their ministry as they're functioning in a little different role, not really contrary to what we teach, but functioning within who they are right now, and then being able to birth later. This multiplication is just a little different thing.
I love it, guys.
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys.